So welcome back, guys. Today we're gonna talk about the crypto fear and greed index. So if you've ever emotionally invested in crypto, like watch it fall, then sell at the bottom just to see it go back up, this is gonna be a good video for you guys, as it kind of helps assess our own emotions in the market and also the general emotions of the market. So this is one of the popular charts that people actually look at. So if we just go ahead and look at the charts, this is what the crypto fear and greed index looks like. So how this is computed is basically looking at a bunch of different variables like Google Trends, search results, and the price, as well as the trending Bitcoin dominance and other things like that. So you can see that it's quite a messy chart. It doesn't super predict like the tops. We're looking at all data, right? But you can see that during lows, generally there's a lot of fear. So this chart goes from 0 to 100, and this top chart is the price of Bitcoin, and this is the fear and greed index. So you can see at the bottom, this is where people are very fearful of the market. They feel like everything's gonna go down or go to zero. And at the top, it's very greedy, wherein people think, oh, it's gonna 100x and where everyone's gonna be rich, right? So crypto and markets in general are pretty hard to navigate because they tend to play with your emotions, right? They make you feel like, oh no, it's too late, and then oh no, let's invest everything, right? So that fluctuation of emotions actually gets played around in the crypto markets. And it's important to realize that to be a good investor, you have to be able to really dial in on what the market is at. And this is actually a useful tool, not only in managing our own emotions, but seeing how this plays out in the market. So, just to illustrate how this really shows, this kind of tells us what we already kind of know. So, right now, for example, Bitcoin has been going up for the past few weeks, and it feels like, we might, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, right? People are starting to feel like, oh, it's not so bad. It's up from the lows, and maybe there's a chance we're going back to all-time high. But if you look at it, so let's just look at the past 6 months here. So this top part again is the price of Bitcoin. You can see that when Bitcoin fell recently um, in the 5th of February, when it fell at the 5th of February, you can see that the fear and greed index like also fell, right? So that's when we were at the most fearful, when like the major crash started. So the fear was at around 6, right? The fear and greed index around 6. Everyone was scared of the market. But you can see right now just been range bound. We've just been range bound from 60 from the 60K level, right? And over time, as people start to get used to the 60K and even see the price slowly going up. So you can see from the start up to the present time, it is slightly going up, and it is been range bound, right? So what people have been starting to feel is that, oh, you know, maybe it isn't so bad, and as the price goes up, maybe we're going to go back to the bull market. So right now, it actually flashed to 47, which is in neutral territory. And you can kind of feel this in the market right now, where people don't really know what's happening. Like some people are optimistic, some people aren't optimistic, right? And it's funny because just literally a few months ago, like in February, we were like at really peak fear, right? We were at a 6, and now we're like near 47. The most recent data points at 33, right? So there's a huge difference on how the emotions of people are playing out versus what the price has been doing, right? But this is normal, right? During these types of periods, there's long stretches of time where crypto doesn't do anything. And because people get used to the sharp drop, right? We dropped to around 60K, and we've been range bound up and down that area for so long. And even now, it's been slightly trending up. People are starting to feel less fear that, oh yeah, we've already seen 60K. it's not so bad anymore. And maybe since it's going up, maybe the bull market is back. But if you look at previous values of this fear and greed index, the same thing played out before. So right, 6 months. Since this is the 6 month time frame, you can see at November 2025, right, we had this massive crash. Right, we went down to 84K from like 110K, right? And that crash made us go all the way to 14 fear, right? During this time we plateaued, and in fact we slowly trended up. So for example, from 85K we were going up, right? And then the fear and greed index went to 22. We went down. It was still at that same level of, from the initial crash at 10. And then as we stay in that period for a really long time, we see it slightly go up, and then the fear and greed index spikes to like 61, right? And people are like euphoric because like, oh, maybe the bull market isn't done. Maybe it's not done. It's Crypto has been going up for like, how long was this? From November to January, right? It's been slightly going up. Maybe this is just normal volatility and we're going to trend back to all-time highs. But once it spikes to 61, you can see that slowly it goes back down, and then boom, we crashed again all the way back down. Um, and this is playing out similarly. Now, this second crash that we're seeing is very similar to the start of this first crash, right? So at this first crash, we went down in the fear and greed. We slowly trended up in price. We hit a peak, and then we slowly crashed down to the new fear and the new price, right? And this is kind of playing out the same way. And now we're trending back up, and now we're kind of peaking in fear. So honestly, what I'm seeing now is this is probably gonna break down again back into fear, and with the price going down. If you look at all the prices, you can see it's pretty volatile. The tops don't necessarily make the top fear, and the bottoms of the price don't necessarily hit the bottom fear, right? So in this daily chart, while it does reflect the market feelings, like in 6 months, in the 6 month data, I showed you that it is reflecting what I personally felt in the market when it crashed, and it was kind of scary. And then now, since it's been range bound and it's going up, I do feel less scared. This is reflecting how I feel and probably how the market feels. But overall, when you look at the entire price, it doesn't seem like bottoms are corresponding to the major bottoms, right? So what you can actually do is average it. So, you know, if you average this, you can get a smoother graph that reflects the average fear for those periods trending over time. So if you average the past 30 days, you're gonna start seeing this graph. So now you can see that bot the cycle bottoms are actually linked to the actual bottoms. Here you can see the cycle bottom. If this is the cycle bottom, this is like it's saying that it's already the bottom. But this is just the 30 days. So for example, it's not perfect, like it didn't catch this, and then this one had like many different dips near it, right? So as we increase the averaging, we're actually getting a smoother and smoother graph that actually shows us a better and better picture. Right? So for example, here we averaged the past 90 days. We can see that the 2019 bottom here bottomed at 23 fear. And then when it started going up, that was kind of it, There was this other bottom that was, the pandemic crash. But this bottom was after the actual price low. So since it's an average, it does miss these big sudden spikes down. But when the prices have been trending down, it is capturing that entire decrease in average sentiment of the market, right? So if there is a sharp crash, maybe this won't register here. But then, just like in 2018, when the prices are slowly going down, it does form a consolidated bottom. So in the last cycle, for example, you see in the 90-day, the bottom was at 2022, and this was the actual bottom for the crypto fear and greed was 16, which was slightly before the actual bottom, right? But maybe we can get better by averaging more days out. So that's the 90. The 180 looks like this. So now the actual bottom in 2022 is pretty near the actual bottom of the fear and greed index, right? So the actual bottom here in 2022 was at 16K, and this was at 27 fear and greed index. So fear and greed index was already slightly going up when it already hit the bottom, right? And that's kind of what you want. You want an indicator that like flashes the bottom, and then when it's going up, tells you that that's the right time to buy. So when the bottom went in here, it wasn't the bottom yet, and then when it's slightly going up, then you have kind of confidence that, oh yeah, this is the time to buy crypto again, right? And then back here, so it didn't super capture this spike, which is fine, but then we're looking at actual cycles. So the actual cycle bottom was 2019. You can see that it did correspond to the crypto fear and greed index. So the 180 day did correspond to the actual bottoms of the cycle if you were tracking the 180 day average of the crypto fear and greed index. The 365 day is this what it looks like. It also captures it. So you can see that the fear and greed index in 2019 cycle was captured at the actual bottom. So this 4K price corresponded to the actual bottom of the crypto fear and greed index at 31. And then the bottom in 2022 was also captured. You can see that this 16K was also captured at the 26. Right now, you can see that we are at 40. So that kind of gives us an idea that maybe this isn't the cycle bottom, right? So if you look at the 1 year crypto fear and greed thing, this kind of gives us an idea that maybe we haven't bottomed yet in terms of Bitcoin price, because in the past two cycles, in 2018 and in 2022, when it bottomed or was starting to go up, this corresponded to the actual cycle bottom, right? And we're not seeing that yet. We haven't seen this flat line yet. There was a flat line of approximately, this is December 6 to January 13, so around 1 month. There was a flat line for around 1 month. And here also, I think there was a flat line for around 1 month. So this was 31 to 13 to, so this was also from February to March, right? So there was also a 1 month flat line. So what we can expect is for this cycle, if it follows the same pattern from the last two cycles, we can expect the crypto fear and greed index to bottom and flatline for around 1 month before we can say that, yep, that is it. This is the bottom, right? So if we go back to year to date, we still haven't really seen this flash. So that's why I think that this is still gonna go down. And right now you can actually feel it. So we go back to the raw no average, and we just go back to, the past 2 years, let's say. Yeah, you can feel it. So right now, for example, if you look at it, this was at a 9, and then this was a crypto fear and greed index of a 9 in February, and has been going up, and now it's spiking, just like I said a while ago. And this was the similar pattern back here when it dropped in November, right? In November, it dropped, and then it spiked all the way up to a 61 with a price of 95K, and then the price went back down, right? And this is kind of like the structure, I think that's gonna keep happening until we actually start going up durably, right? So crypto and markets like to play with our emotions, right? It's gonna drop, we're gonna be in fear, it's gonna crawl slowly up, we're gonna feel like everything's starting to become fine, that the world is healing, and then it's gonna crash again. So don't play into these emotions. At the current time, I'm not buying, and maybe you shouldn't buy too. Not financial advice though. Um, yeah, so basically you can use this to get a fix on your emotions. What is the crypto market saying right now? And then if you're averaging it over longer periods of time, you can use this to possibly identify cycle bottoms. For tops, it's not so clear. So right now in the past cycle, for example, it topped in 2021, which did correspond to the fear and greed index top. But in the last cycle, 2024, 2025, it was kind of hard to tell, right? So the fear and greed index stopped here in 2025, but the actual market cycle top was, you know, past the first fear and greed top, right? And it was a lower high on the fear and greed index. So tops, not so much. Um, but bottoms, it looks like it's following it pretty accurately. Yeah. So that's how we can use this indicator to assess the market state and actually see certain things. I don't think this is the bottom yet for various reasons. One is, yeah, if you look at the 365 day, it doesn't seem like we're there yet. This seems like a normal drop from from the highs. So like if you look at this pattern, this looks more like this than this bottoming out pattern. So I'd change my view if I could if this flatline for a month maybe. Although yeah, I'm not so sure. Like if it started going up and flatlined, I might change my view on that. Because there were times here where the slope was slightly going down, but it never really started going back up yet. So if we see it starting to go up or it flatlines, maybe I'm willing to change my view. But also, if you look at the other indicators that we talked about on our other videos, like days to cross, like I just don't think enough time has really passed for the cycle bottoms to be in, right? So, for example, just to reiterate this, like if we're looking at 50% bottoms, 50% crashes, right? We haven't had a 50% crash for 1,000 days, right? And it looks like previously we've had 50% crashes, like 700 days apart, 500 days apart. So if we go 600 or 700, you can see that that would be this schedule. We should start seeing these yellow lines to appear, which are the number of days before a 50% crash to occur. And you see, we haven't seen that yet. So this entire price range, at 20, at $1,000 per Bitcoin hasn't seen a 50% drop yet, and we'll probably see it soon. Once these lines start appearing, you know, that's gonna be the next 50% drop, and a 50% drop from 100K is gonna be like 50K. So I do think that we're starting to be at that time period wherein we're gonna start seeing bigger drops back to 50K. So that's only one, but also if you look at the price risk, it doesn't look like we're there yet either. So this is like back tested price risk values that we show in our other videos. So here we can see that, yeah, it dropped all the way down here, but we're still up here. So I don't think this is gonna be the bottom right now because it looks very uncharacteristic for the chart. So I do think Bitcoin is going down more. And if we're looking at the crypto fear and greed index, this looks like it is playing out the same exact pattern as it was in 2015 and November 2015, right? So you can see this exact pattern where crypto was going up, the crypto fear and greed index flashed, and we went back down. And right now, I feel like that is what's happening. This is flashing, and I think we're gonna go back down. So, yeah, just trying to warn you guys. hopefully we could go through this cycle without experiencing, all inning in certain parts of the market and then just have it completely wiped, right? So I'm still saving my cash position. I'm probably gonna go back into the market pretty once I'm confident that we are near a bottom. I don't have to time it perfectly. If it's starting to go up, I will ride that momentum. And so yeah, so that's it. If you guys want this charts, all of this is free in lofiledger.com. So you can look at this website, lofiledger.com, and I'll see you guys next time.